Good morning, piano parents. Thank you so much for tuning into the episode today. Before we get straight into the interview, I want to extend an invitation. Today's interview is with a real live piano parent. Even though this is the Piano Parent podcast, there have been very few parents of piano students who have come on the show. I've invited some parents from my own studios over the years. Today's parent is from my own studio, but it's not limited to just parents that I work directly with. I would love if you have a story to tell, if you're a piano teacher and you would like to recommend a piano parent who is doing a phenomenal job helping their children practice and working through challenges and obstacles. I think they would be an inspiration to other piano teachers and piano parents listening to the show. So the show is designed for piano parents, and I would love to hear from more piano parents. If you have a question or a success story or anything that you think would be helpful to other parents who are in the trenches trying to encourage their children as they learn to play the piano, please reach out to me. You can easily reach me through Instagram at Piano Parent Podcast. You're also welcome to email me at Shelly, Shelly, at pianoparentpodcast.com. So this is my invitation to you. I would love to visit with you if there's something that I can help you, some hurdle or obstacle that maybe we can work through together. I would love to help you with that. And then in addition, I think that would be very helpful to other piano parents who might be in the same situation as you are. We learn and we help each other. And so I would love for you to reach out to me. I'm very grateful for today's interview. This is a dear mom in my studio who is a teacher. She's homeschooling her children, but then she was very intentional and very loving in the way she is helping her son work through a personal challenge. And I can't wait for you to hear more from Kristen. So here is our conversation. Good morning, piano parents. Thank you, as always, for joining in and tuning into the show today. Even though this is a show designed for piano parents, I'm embarrassed to say that I rarely have the opportunity to speak to piano parents, or at least exclusive piano parents. Sometimes when I speak to a teacher, they're also happen to be a piano parent, but today we have the opportunity to talk to a piano parent, a parent in my studio, Kristen Pennington. So, Kristen, first of all, just introduce yourself and let us hear your voice.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I have one son, Barrett, who is in piano, and a 5-year-old who's not yet, but hopefully will be in the next couple of years.
Awesome, fantastic. And
Mhm.
Barrett has been studying with me for about coming up on 2 years, isn't that right?
Yeah, we started in the summer, so yeah, we're coming up on 2 years. Yep.
Wonderful. And tell me what was interesting about piano? What value do you see for piano for Barrett? Are you a musician? Did you study when you were a child, or how did piano come into the picture?
I wish I was a musician. I am not, but I have always loved music, and I have family members who are musicians. And I had the opportunity as a child to take lessons with my grandmother, who actually taught my dad and his brothers whenever they were kids. She lived next door to us. She had her own piano. And so she
Perfect.
taught me the basics. I remember learning to read the notes, but I don't think my parents were very like, they didn't push me to do it, or maybe gave me
Yes.
the choice and I said no because I was busy
Sure.
doing other things.
Right?
So I think that's probably what it was, and I regret that so much now because I know what a treat that would have been to have learned from her.
Yes.
Um, so Barrett has shown a lot of interest just in music since he was very young. So loves to dance, has always had a sense of rhythm and
Yes.
and can sing on key. He does a good job. He's been interested, and his dad, my husband, used to lead worship for our youth group whenever we were in high
Yes.
school, and so he's musically talented. He can play the guitar. He's not one who ever learned to read music. He just learned to play by ear. So that's what he wishes that he had learned that too. But it's been interesting with Barrett. We gave him the option of would you like to learn? Do you think you would like to learn? And it's really cool. He gets to see at church, there's a young man who plays the piano on stage for the music. And Barrett's always kind of intrigued by that, the ability to perform and to make pretty music. And so we gave him the option. And I think when we started with you, was he 5? Maybe 6. I think he was 6 whenever we started with you. And so not fully reading yet, but understanding a little bit and could do some basic things. But he um, started that summer with you and has just it's been so neat to watch him. And the way you started with him, I'm learning it too.
Yay.
Slowly. I'm learning it slowly. But now I'm like, I can read basic music, and he's progressing faster than me. And there are times that whenever I'm helping him, I'm like, well, give me 5 minutes with this first. Like, get it and to play it and to hear it and practice it, and then I can actually help you with it. There's going to reach a point where he's going to way bypass me. I'm sorry, you're going to have to ask Miss Shelly. I
You're
don't
on
know.
your own.
But for the most part, I am able to piece it together and help him because we started with him just so basic.
Yes.
That, I mean, it's been great for me to learn it that way too. And so it's been a lot of fun, and it's been really neat to watch him like pick up on it. It's just amazing what kids can do. Stuff that
So quick.
I'm like, okay, this is my brain. My brain is really struggling. But he's
Yes.
like, oh no. And then I just recently he was playing and I said, oh, that was supposed to be a D. And he goes, no, it's not. And I was like, oh. So I looked at it and was like, no, you're right. Sorry.
I love that it's a team effort, it
Yes,
seems like, at your
it totally
house.
is. Yes.
And I have said this on the podcast before. I think it is very valuable for kids to watch their parents not necessarily be great at something.
Yes,
And that
absolutely.
we can struggle and maybe get a little frustrated, and they can learn how a mature person is
Yes,
supposed to handle those things.
right.
Maybe I don't always demonstrate it, but I know what I ought to be doing.
Exactly, yes.
So we have a special topic that we're going to be talking about. I'm not quite ready to get there yet.
Okay.
Um, I am thrilled for other parents to hear from a piano parent, someone
Yes,
that's in the trenches and you're doing all the things, and you have the bigger responsibility of making sure some practice happens in between lessons.
right.
So, what does that look like? Has he always just been willing to just go right to the piano, or how do you schedule practice? No, he's a real kid.
So sometimes he is. Sometimes he's excited about it and willing to do it, but we are homeschooling. And so the way we're able to work it into our homeschool day pretty seamlessly, it's part of our lessons. So it's
Yes.
just considered part of our homeschool curriculum. Whereas I think for some public school kids, it's more of like you have to do it after school, and that makes it a little bit trickier because maybe they're tired or whatever. But
Right.
with Barrett, we try to knock out our homeschool between like 8 a.m. and noon because I feel like that's the best. That's when he's fresh and
Yes.
most willing to learn. And of course, we take lots of breaks in between there. We're elementary, so we're not having to do real heavy coursework. But as far as working it into the day, I mean, we do typically it's in the middle of our school lessons. So we'll do math and then we'll take a break for a little bit, go play basketball, go jump on the trampoline, and then come back inside and we'll sit down and work through whatever you've given us to work through that week. Um, and that hasn't always been easy. There's been times that he's like, if it's an especially hard piece that he's like, I don't know, I can't. But we've figured out some tricks to help him get through those harder times. If you're ready for me to talk about those yet, but he's go ahead.
I do want to get there.
Okay.
And I agree. I love that you have just kind of woven it in to your
Yes.
schedule. And you mentioned that it's a little bit easier for you because you're structuring his whole day. Um,
Right.
I would argue that you've got a lot bigger
Well,
responsibility
yeah.
because you're in charge of the whole day.
Yeah.
But even parents of kids that are in a public school, private school, and away from home school setting, I
Right.
think that's a valuable lesson for them to just figure out what will work with their schedule
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
then just weave it in. If you give them the option, they're
Yes.
going to opt for anything else that they think is more fun. And
Right.
I would do the same thing. If you give me
Yeah,
options, I'm not going to always make the best choice. So, as parents, we have that responsibility to just determine their schedule and figure out how it's going to happen. And
right.
maybe they can have a choice of, do you want to start with this song or do you want to start with this song? But I've already made the choice. This is part of your schedule right now.
Yes. Yeah.
So I kind of do want to kind of get into what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure exactly the best way to get into it. You and I have been communicating quite a
Hmm.
bit, and I love that you're very open with communication to let me know how things are going on at home, and maybe if he's feeling a certain way. A couple of weeks ago, he was just dealing with allergies and just
Hmm.
wasn't feeling 100%, and so that gave me a good clue about, okay, I can be a little bit more. I always try to be gentle and
Yes.
kind and friendly, but a little more so knowing that he was having an off day. And
Yes.
so there has been a period of time in Barrett's life when he has a little bit of negative self-talk. And
Hmm.
you have been very proactive about helping him work through that. So I'm going to be quiet and kind of let you take it away. What are some things that you saw in him, and what are some strategies that you're helping him with?
So he has always been my sunny disposition child. He's been since the time he had a very hard babyhood because of health issues. But then once we saw his personality emerge, he's just been the loveliest. Just always encouraging, super empathetic, but because of that, he does pick up on other people's moods, and he's very
Yes.
affected. Um, and so we tease his daddy and call him Eeyore because he's not Eeyore all the time, but he does sometimes trend towards Eeyore, where oh, he's struggling.
Yes.
But in Barrett has kind of, I see that personality coming out in him a little bit, and I'm like, no, no, go back to sunny child. But so he'll do those things where he starts, oh, I just can't do it. I'm just not smart enough, which is just, I mean, we know that's not true. He's
Right.
super bright, and I know that, which is one of the benefits of homeschooling in general, is that like I get to see really how bright he is and how quickly he picks up on things. But it also helps me. I see when he's struggling, and part of homeschool has been learning when to step back
Mhm.
and learning when to just say, you know what, we're not going to do this right now because he's close to tears because he's frustrated or
Right.
whatever it is, and just say, okay, we're going to go do something else for a little bit. Let's go throw the baseball. Let's go outside. And typically that's all that it takes for him, is just a little change.
Yes.
But I can't remember exactly when this was during lessons, but he did reach a point where he just felt like maybe it was last summer, I think it was, where
Yeah.
he felt like he was just struggling and wasn't catching on with whatever we were progressing on with. And he hadn't said much to me. I could just tell in his attitude when doing it. But then you told me that he said to you that something about him being stupid, which
Right.
just broke both of our hearts
Yes.
to hear.
Yes.
Um, but he also has he's got like food allergies and seasonal allergies. And that really, I can see whenever he'll get like dark circles whenever that stuff is hitting him hard. And that affects his mood big time too, and his motivation and energy level, all of that. But during that time, after he said that to you, one of the big changes that we made was we made a little chart that was not based on performance, based on how well he's practicing. It was just called the good attitude chart. And so then there was a prize at the end of every week. If you were able to have a good attitude during your piano lessons all week long, for every practice session, if you messed up 1,000 times, but every time you just said, ugh, okay, and then started over, that's what we've had to work on the most, because it used to be, and he doesn't do this anymore, which is so great, but it used to be he'd miss a note and then just fall apart.
Yes. Yes.
And then I have to start over, which I'm like, you don't have to start over. Let's
Right.
just pick up right there. And now he does that. Now he'll give a little and then keep going. And I'm like, that's great. I'm totally okay with that. A little
Absolutely.
like little sigh of frustration, but then just keep going. And so that, I don't know, having little prizes for him, he's one that's big time motivated by like, yeah, I'd love to have $2 so I could buy some baseball cards, that kind of stuff. So if he where if he had a good attitude all week long and got a check mark every day, at the end of the week, he got $2 or whatever it was. We would vary, it would be different
Sure.
prizes every week. But that just got him into the habit because it would be like, oh, he'd miss a note and then start to fall apart and then be like,
Oh,
okay,
wait a
never mind.
second.
I'm going to keep going. I want to get that $2. So it just it changed the routine, it changed the habit. So that just really worked in our favor. And we still do that. He still continues on with this good attitude chart, and we've kind of carried it over into homeschool as well. It's more for just piano. That's the main thing because that's what we wanted to start it with and keep it kind of focused on that. But it's just really helped him to control those emotions, those feelings of frustration, and to recognize like I don't have to act on that. I can think about it for a second and
Yes.
decide how I want to respond. Which we're working on with our 5-year-old too. So it's just all the time we're doing
I was going
lessons.
to say, keep that tactic for the 5-year-old, but be ready to have some different tactics because that's a whole other
Exactly.
DNA strain.
Yes, and he is totally different from Barrett. He is like wildly emotional. So we're like, "Ooh,
Oh
this is
boy.
we have to tone that down." But we're already working on it with him because I'm starting kindergarten with him in the fall. So
Okay.
that'll be a whole other thing. But he's food motivated. It'll be like you get a chocolate kiss if you.
Woohoo.
Barrett's not. He could care less. He's like, oh, I don't want that.
Whatever.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but and then just recently, I feel like he kind of stalled out. He reached a point where it was like maybe the pieces he just couldn't. He was getting discouraged a little bit too hard. And so then you did such a good job of like, you know what? We're going to take a step back from that book and we're going to go to the favorites. I can't remember what it's called, that
Yes.
um, old favorites or whatever it is. And that has just been like where it's just the 5-finger pat. He just does so well with it because it's like, I know these. He doesn't know the songs,
Oh,
but
really?
he can. There's been a couple. He recognized Camptown Races. That was one that was like, oh, once I played the tune,
Heard
he was
this
like,
before.
oh, yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that.
And Home
Um,
on the Range, I think.
Home on the Range. That was the one he just picked up by himself. And that's
Nice.
what was so exciting. That was like, oh, we got over that hurdle of he picked up that book on his own without me saying, we need to go upstairs and practice. It
Yes.
was, I heard him up there playing without any prompting from me, which was like, that's really huge. Cause usually
Pitter
it's like,
patter.
now's the time. Now we have
Right.
to go up there. And he's willing, he'll go do it. But this was the first time that it was like, he was excited about a song, picked it up, flipped to it on his own. I didn't tell him to play that one. We hadn't played it before. And he just started experimenting with it. But it was so cute because he called down to me from upstairs, Mom, I just started playing this new song and it's really cool. And
Yes.
I was like, okay. I was like, all right, let me come up and hear it. And so he's playing Home on the Range and playing it so well. But I bet you he's played that song 200 times in the
Yes.
last 2 weeks just because he just keeps playing it over and over and over. But it brings me so much joy because he's doing it without me asking. I just hear him up there playing.
Yes.
And so I actually rewarded him for that last week. He had been up there playing so much. And so he had been asking me recently for a water gun. That's been something that he's been wanting. And I'm like, let's wait. We'll wait till summer. We're not going to do that right now. But after he had been playing piano so much without me having to tell him to go do it, I sat him down a couple of days ago and was like, let's go pick out a water gun because you have been taking responsibility. You've been taking initiative. You've been doing this on your own without me asking. And he didn't expect that, didn't
Right.
know that he was going to get rewarded for that. And so that was like his face just,
Oh,
just lit up. And I was like, let's go do that because I'm so proud of you for doing that without me asking. He's doing it without me like checking off the good attitude chart. He's just
nice.
doing it. And so I just kind of wanted to teach him like you will be rewarded in life for taking responsibility for your things, for taking initiative, for working on things, for being willing to work hard and
Yes.
work through frustration. And especially at this point, he's 8 and doing things without his mom or dad asking him to do it is like, that's really big. That's a really big step. And
Yes.
so that was our most recent thing that he's been like, yeah. So that was another motivation of like, oh, if I keep doing this, I'll be rewarded for that too. And so it's just been really great, and it's been fun to figure out what works for him. And
Yes.
specifically to try to feel him out, know what motivates him, know what frustrates him. It takes work,
It does. It
but it's
does.
so worth it.
Absolutely. And I love right now for him just the intrinsic satisfaction of feeling confident and being able to play this song that he recognizes, even
Yeah,
if he might not have known it before. It
right.
kind of was in his music memory. And
Yes,
so music was its own reward in a way. But
right.
then I love that you're applauding the effort and the responsibility and the
Yes,
initiative. And so you're seeing some other things in addition to that that speak his language and
right.
can motivate him to keep making those kinds of positive choices.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the biggest things in homeschool too is that we are teaching, I don't care how many times you mess up. I don't care how long it takes you to master this concept. I'm not ever going to be frustrated with you for not picking up on something quick enough or for not understanding something that I'm trying to explain to you. Like, we will try everything we can to get to that point. I only am disappointed if you give up or you don't try or you start
Yes.
the lesson by saying, I can't do it. I don't know
Yes.
this.
Yes.
That's the only time that I ever get harsh with him, is
Right.
just, it's your attitude and that's it. Like, I'm
Right.
never going to be upset with you for the way that you, for how long it takes you to learn something. That's never going to be an issue. It's all about your
Yes.
attitude. If you mess up 1,000 times, but every time you say, I'm going to try again, then great. You
Yes.
know, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. And it's just life lessons in general. Like, this is gonna happen to you your entire life. You're gonna be
Yes.
disappointed, you're gonna be frustrated, you're not gonna get it the first time, and you're gonna have to keep trying. And that's with, he does sports, so baseball, basketball, all the stuff that he's interested in. You're not gonna be great at it at first. It's gonna take
Right.
practice. And then you're
Right.
gonna have to fail, you're gonna have to miss that catch, you're gonna have to miss that swing, and then keep trying until you get
Learn
it.
from it. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's when I say this often. Piano lessons are about so much more than making music at the piano
Yes.
because they learn all of these other things. And if you don't mind, I'd kind of like to go back and just talk about when we both noticed that there was a negative conversation that was going on internally for him. I'm so glad that he spoke up. I'm glad that he felt like he could trust me. I hope he feels like he can still trust me.
Mhm.
That I didn't go tattling to Mama, but I did let you know
Yeah.
about the conversation, and for him to internalize that, I was just really concerned for him. And had
Mhm.
you seen some other things? Because I'm thinking about parents who are maybe dealing with this right now and they haven't found a solution, or they're maybe wondering, is this really serious enough to address, or should I
Right.
just kind of let it slide? Because what he said in the lesson, he was trying to play something. He had made a couple of little hiccups, and like you,
Mhm.
mistakes are part of the learning
Right.
process. You have to train your fingers and figure out how to make this happen, especially when you're doing a new concept that you haven't done before.
Right.
But for him to, he just kind of got a little frustrated and said, I'm too stupid. I can't do this. And
Mhm.
he wasn't disrespectful to me. It was just all inside. And I'm like, no, no, no. You're
Yes.
awesome. I don't want you
I
to
know.
ever think that. I would never say that about you. You can't say that about you.
Mhm.
What else had you seen in other situations?
So it's funny, about that time, he always comes out of your lessons like skipping to the
Yeah.
car. And so that day, he wasn't skipping. He just walked
Mm,
out. And then you had let me know what had happened. And he's not one, I'm always careful with that. Like, if you shared with me what he said, I didn't come right out and say, Miss Shelley
okay.
told me that this happened during the
Right.
lesson. It's more, I just try to kind of ask him questions about how he's feeling. And so I don't know that he even knew that you had
Yes.
passed that on to me. And I'm so glad that you did, because then we were able to start kind of working through that. And a lot of times it's so affected by other things that are going on
Sure.
in their lives. And kids have so much on their plates. They just do. And
Yes.
with school and with sports and schedules and just being tired. And a lot of times I know that's what it is. And it affects them the same way that it affects us, where we're just like, I don't have the brain capacity today to
Right.
do this thing. But they have parents over them saying, no, you're going to do it, and
Right.
we as adults get to kind of like, you know what, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to take a break,
Sure.
you know? So I think it's important just give them a little bit of breathing room and give them a little bit of freedom in that, where it's like, maybe we're not going to do as long of a lesson as we typically do. I want you to pick one song from your book today that you like, and
Yes.
let's play through that one. And then we'll go do something else. But it's just kind of like, once we realize he's kind of hitting a wall, and I think that's happened, I think twice it's happened
Mhm.
where he's kind of hit that wall and we've had to kind of reassess and step back. But I think most of what I notice in him is just he's not as excited. He's not as willing, to go and practice and play. And it's mostly just picking up on his moods anyway. And I think I have the benefit from homeschooling of like I
Right.
get to see that happening throughout the day. Whereas if your kid's at school, then they come home and you don't really know, what's been happening and how they're feeling or what someone said to them today that made them
Sure.
feel a certain way. So I think it's just being in tune with them. I think it's just asking thoughtful questions and not just how was your day? It's,
Yeah.
we like to have conversations at the end of the day that's like, what was your favorite part of the day? What's something good
Yes.
that happened today? And what was something that you didn't like? What was something that upset you? And usually it's his younger brother.
I can attest to that. I had a younger brother. Got on my nerves.
Usually it's the younger brother, but sometimes it's other things. Sometimes it's a friend said something to him that hurt his feelings. Because we do a homeschool co-op too. And we've got church and he's baseball. We've got all these groups, that he's involved in. So he's affected by all that kind of stuff too. And I think it's just learning what things do affect your kids. Because there are some little boys who can just let that stuff roll off.
Right.
They're not really affected by those kind of things. Or, some kids, Barrett has never been the one to push back. We've had to encourage him to do that because his younger brother is one who
Yes.
will push back. Barrett has always been so considerate and gentle and kind. And so, I mean, he's getting a lot better at it now. He's had to because of his brother. No, we used to say, if someone, especially his brother, if he has his hands on you and you've asked him to stop and he doesn't, then you have permission to get him off of you,
Yes.
And so it's
Yes.
giving them like permission to respond in certain ways and when it's appropriate to act a certain way. But I think just giving them tools to deal with how they're feeling or if they're feeling beat down or if they're feeling discouraged. I think it's just you have to really learn your child and what encourages
That's
them.
that's something else that we have to teach them.
Yeah.
I've been doing that in addition to teaching piano here. I
Mhm.
also teach part-time at a charter school in
Mm,
Tyler, and that's something that I've been experimenting with this year. When I make it clear I'm not going to deal with tattles because usually you're just wanting somebody else to get in trouble.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
if somebody says, they're in my space or they said something to me, you have permission. You have my permission to speak up for yourself and
Right.
tell them you are too close to me, you are in my space, you need to move over, or you can move over.
Right.
You can take some initiative yourself, and if they said something ugly to you, you tell them you don't talk that way to me. And
Exactly.
so we'll see how well they're actually internalizing, and I may I may get in trouble because I've given them too much power. But
Yeah.
so I love that you came up with a chart, a physical, tangible thing that he can see. But
Yes.
as you mentioned, it wasn't based on how well he did. It was
Right.
completely based on attitude, maybe a little bit of effort in addition with that attitude. Was that
Right.
something you had seen before, or how did you come
It
up with that?
wasn't, well, we've done like chore charts and that kind of stuff, which truly never lasts that long. It ends
Right.
up just being me being like, go clean your room. but um, but I was just really trying to come up with ideas for, what is something tangible that I could use that he could see that would be some kind of reward system, some kind of motivation for him. And so, I mean, I hand drew it. It wasn't one that we like found and printed. It was like, no, I'm just going to come up with this. And really simple. It was just called the good attitude reward chart. That was it. And had, the month's worth of weeks laid out. And at the end of every week, I had written down whatever prize that would be exciting for him. And most of the time, that was a couple of bucks. Sometimes it was other things. Or if it was like when we were studying for theory exam, it
Mhm.
was if you are studying every day this week, then and you do well with your studying, good attitude with your studying, then you get $5 at the end of this week. If
Yes.
you're doing that on top of your lessons, then you're working extra hard and you'll get rewarded for that. And so it's just something that I just kind of came up with, and it's thankfully it worked. And I think it
Yes.
could work for a lot of kids, just teaching them I'm not expecting your performance to be perfect. I'm just expecting you to try and
Yes.
to be willing to work and try.
Because I think when we start having a reaction to something, we build those neural connections in our brain that sort of creates this habit loop that when I
Yeah.
mess up, I get mad at myself and then I
Yes,
fall down this rabbit hole.
absolutely.
And you broke the loop by giving
Right.
him something bigger than that that
Yeah.
he would rather work toward. And so
Yeah.
you rewired his brain in a
Yeah.
very good way. I think that's so good.
Yeah. It's
Um,
been great.
I was going to say something else that was just brilliant. What was I going to say? You were talking about, oh man, I hate it when I do that.
Oh, so I did want to tell you, I was so thrilled. I guess it was the week before spring break. You had written what his theory exam result was in
Oh,
his book,
yes.
but I hadn't looked at his book yet. And it was like a few days before I had seen it because he had been going up and practicing by himself. And so I finally, he didn't, it was like maybe 3 or 4 days after the lesson when he knew what he made. And we were just sitting down at dinner and he goes, "Oh yeah, mom, forgot to tell you. I got my exam results back." And I was like, "You did? What was it?" And he goes, "101." I was like, "Oh gosh."
That was the thing I was going to tell you. Is that did you know that he made a 101 on
I
his
was
theory
so
exam?
proud. And and because we homeschool, he's not in a like formal test setting a lot.
Mm,
And so it was one like we really prepared for that with like, I'm going to leave the room and you do
yes,
this practice test. And we'll see how you do, without being able to like, "Oh, mom, wait, is this,
right.
asking me a question." Because he's used to being able to do that. But there are times with homeschool at the end of each lesson, he has an independent review where he's working on something by himself. And then I'll come back and look at it and see what he missed. But with the theory, the practice test, I did the first couple with him to just help him get into the rhythm of like what's expected. And we talked about, what it's going to be like when you're there and what to expect. And, um, but we did work really hard. He worked really hard. Like
Yes,
he got to where he really had the information down.
yes.
And so by the time we did our last practice test, it was like, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. Like he just knew
Awesome.
it. And so I knew he was confident going in, but you always wonder once he gets in there, is he going to kind of panic? Is it going to leave? He's
Yes.
not going to be able to call it back in that moment. So I was really, really excited. We made a huge deal about that. I
Oh,
took him
good.
to get frozen yogurt
Oh,
after.
fun. But we've caused a problem because he set the bar extremely high and he's not going to keep a 101 as the test gets harder. So,
I know, but at least I was so thrilled because he really wanted to get that award at the recital. That
yes.
was what it was like, if I could get, is it a 90 or above that he gets?
Yes.
And so I was like, I know you can pass this test. I
Right.
do have confidence that you can get a 90 or above if you can just stay calm whenever you're
Yes.
taking the exam. The information's there. And
Yes.
um, and apparently he did. But someone who will stay very calm and collected at the recital last year, I was just amazed because he was the first one to go, and
Mm,
it was his first recital ever.
yes.
Just walked up there as calm and cool as can be, did his little bow, and then sat down and played and didn't miss a note and bowed again, and I was just like, "Who is this kid? My word,
Yes.
he can do." I have horrible stage fright. I panic. I
Yes.
do it, but I'm gonna be shaking while I'm doing it,
Yes.
and I'm
Yes.
just not one who can do it. His dad, totally comfortable doing public
Wow.
speaking, being on stage in front of people, not a big deal, and
Wow.
so it looks like he's gotten it from his dad, which I'm so thrilled,
Yes.
so
Good.
glad he's inherited that. But, yeah, there's been a few times he's been on stage for little things, for little productions, and it's like, he's just totally at ease, but I was so proud of him for doing that at the recital and was like, gosh, because he worked really hard to get that performance ready last.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Good. You make me think of my youngest daughter, also had some issues when she was an infant as far as
Yep.
health goes, and she was able to participate in a fashion show that was a fundraiser for this particular health organization, and
Mhm.
she was thrilled and got to keep the little outfit that she fashion, demonstrated. But she had to go first, and her dad and I were like, "She's not going to know what to do. She's never done anything like this before." But she just went out there and owned that stage and did her twirls. As parents, we can project our fears onto our kids.
Exactly. And that's what I was doing. I was like, "Oh no, like I know he's got to be so scared." And I have to remember those kind of things. We're pretty particular about like screen time with our kids. We don't have tablets or anything like that. And we restrict what can be seen on television because it can get crazy. But
Right.
I have to be careful. I grew up watching, and my husband loved it too, the movie Hook with Robin
Yes.
Williams. Okay, so that just recently, I have been waiting to let our kids watch that for so long, and they're 8 and 5 and almost 6. And my husband was like, like they're ready to watch that. But because I had had nightmares about one part
Uh-oh.
in that movie, I had held off for a really long time. And I've done that with a lot of different things that I'm like, oh, that really affected me as a kid. I'm going to be really careful about that. But we watched that this weekend and they just thought it was the best movie in the world and
Good.
they're not scared a bit. And I'm like, well,
Yeah. Okay,
gosh,
good.
that was me projecting onto them, the things
Yes.
that affected me as a kid. But I think they're a lot tougher than I was.
Well, and I'll just throw in my own little soapbox too about how grateful I am that you and your husband are working together to parent these boys. And
Yeah,
as a mom, as a girl, I
yeah,
might be afraid to do things or might
right.
might not express myself sternly enough, especially when our boys became teenagers. And so
Yes.
my husband has a different perspective, and I have to respect that sometimes. And he has a different way of parenting, and I'm grateful that our kids got to experience both styles of parenting.
And they need that. They
Yeah.
need both styles. And they know, I mean, I do have to be firm with them because right now I'm staying at home and I was a nurse for
Mm,
years and started staying home after Barrett was born because of his health issues. But I've been staying home since then and I love it and love homeschooling. Never thought we'd do homeschooling. If you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said no, never. And and here we are doing it. But but it's just interesting seeing the dynamic of like, okay, I'm teacher and I'm mom, and I'm a bunch of different things to
yes.
my boys, and so I do have to be really firm too because well, you have to treat me the way you would treat a teacher.
Right.
You can't roll your eyes at me. You can't do
No.
that kind of stuff. You would not do that. We really are big on like yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and just I'm like that's such an easy way to show respect to
Yes.
someone in our area. I know in other parts of
Right.
the US, it's like, "No, you don't
Right.
don't do that." But here it is, and my husband and I are both from here, and we're raised that way. But it just is, like, I feel like it sets a kid apart if they respond to you in that way. "Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir," and listen to you the first time you ask them to do something, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we're really big on that, but my husband has been a huge part of that because that manly masculine presence,
Yes.
expecting these things of these young men and teaching them how to be men
Yes.
is huge. It's huge
Yes.
because they can't get that from me. I can do the best that I can. I can demand respect from them and I do, but it's different with their dad. And so yeah, he's a huge part of just all this everything, homeschooling
Yes.
and piano and all of that. Having that counterpart who supports what we're doing
Yes.
and encourages and if Barrett it was really sweet. Barrett was playing Home on the Range, and my husband can sing well. And so Kyle, my husband, was singing while Barrett was
How
playing this
fun.
song. And it was just the sweetest. It was so cute.
I love that.
I know.
So you and I are living the ideal, and I'm very grateful for my husband. You're grateful for yours. I
Yes,
know there may be people listening that are not in that situation, and so I want to acknowledge that you may be in a position where you are the only parent for
absolutely.
whatever reason, and so maybe it's an opportunity to connect with another mom or another single parent and figure figure out how are they doing things. Just
Yes.
because we have this idea in our head, we can be open to other perspectives and
Right.
have a different approach to how we, especially if we're trying to encourage our child and whatever we're trying is just not working. I
Yes.
hope that you can find a network of other parents that can support you and give you some different ideas.
Yes, and because other women are such a support to me, like
Good.
that's yeah, and it just I've really found that especially in the homeschool community of because there it can get really hard, it can get really heavy, and you can feel discouraged and because my husband doesn't help with the homeschooling,
Mm,
he works full time. He's supporting us so that I can
right.
homeschool them, but that's a heavy weight. Your kids' education on your shoulders, and I know single moms have just the weight of the world on their
Yes.
shoulders. So finding other moms to help is, gosh, priceless. Just
Yes.
walking through the same walk that you're in and finding their tips and tricks and all the things that they've had to navigate. Yeah.
Which I feel like is what you have just done by sharing a little bit of your story with
Yeah.
listeners on the podcast. I appreciate you. I appreciate, first of all, the opportunity to work with Barrett. He is a
Mhm.
jewel. I love working with him. I love that he's getting more comfortable with me, that he'll say what he thinks about a song.
Yes, that's funny. He is getting there. And it's funny you mentioned that because he would not have said the word stupid to me because he knows
Mm,
that we don't
that's a
say
no
that.
no. Right.
Yeah, we're not gonna say that word. But he felt comfortable enough to share that with you. And I mean, he wasn't saying it about someone else, which would have been
Right.
like, whoa, 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 but he was saying it about himself, which is heartbreaking in another way. But he felt comfortable enough to say that with you when he wouldn't have
Yes.
said it to me. And
Yes.
so it's good. He does feel comfortable with you. He does
I'm
feel like
glad. And I
thanks.
had given him a song a while ago about a puppy. And I just, because he had just gotten a puppy, and I thought, oh, well, maybe this will be a good connection. And
Mhm.
he tried to learn that
He
song,
did.
and he actually can play it. It wasn't mastered. And that's what I kept kind of pushing
Yes.
toward. And he respectfully let me know
I hate that song.
I am up to here with that song. So, okay. So I'm learning too, just like you said, we kind of learn maybe that would have worked for some other kid,
Yeah.
but there's so much music, too much music to be forced to play something that you're not connecting with
Yeah.
or that you don't enjoy. There may be a time when I say, I agree, you and I don't like this song, but it really is teaching you some
Right.
valuable skills. So tough it out with me and
Yes.
we'll be on the same team. The
Right.
song will be the enemy and we will conquer that enemy.
Yes. Yes.
So he's teaching me, and I very much value the way you and I are able to communicate
Yes.
for his benefit. And I appreciate you sharing your story with piano parents. I
Mhm.
love the things that he's been able to learn through this experience. And I wonder, as we kind of wrap up, is there any other word of advice or anything else that you would say to parents who are maybe dealing with some negative self-talk from their kids?
Yeah, I think it just all comes down to communicating with them, and that's been a big thing with us is I want him to understand that my expectations are not way up here for mastering something, that it all comes down to the way that you're acting. And so I think just try to explain that to your kids because they may not understand that. They may think you want me to play this perfectly and I can't do it.
Right,
And I'm just failing and I can't live up to your expectations. Even if you don't feel that way, they might be thinking that you feel that way.
right.
And so I think it's just really important to be very, very open with them and making it very clear that I don't care how many times you mess up. Does not matter to me at all as long as you just keep trying. Just keep trying. And so that's actually our motto with our 5-year-old is don't cry, just try.
Just try. That's wonderful. And actually, parents could say that to themselves. Don't
Yes,
cry.
exactly. Oh my gosh, I say it to myself all the time.
Well, this has been so much fun. I appreciate you so much, Kristen, and thanks for sharing your story. And maybe when the 5-year-old comes on to piano lessons, we may have a whole other thing we could talk
We
about
will. We'll
together.
have a whole different podcast for you.
Awesome. And that's the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for hanging around all the way to the end. If you haven't done so already, this would be a great time for you to hit the subscribe button. If you're listening through Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever your favorite podcast player is, hit subscribe so you will be the first to receive next week's episode. I would love to connect with you. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Piano Parent Podcast, and you could just email me, Shelly at pianoparentpodcast.com.